Hi. Welcome. Welcome to guys. How are you doing?
Great
Yes.
being here.
Great.
Great. Where do you live both? You live in
I live in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam,
I live in Berlin.
in Berlin. Okay. So just to know you more, can you just tell us more about you, your passion, your experience in a few words?
My passion was mountaineering, but with children I take it a little easier. I put a lot of time in my work, so that's taking up most of my time.
Right. And for you?
My passion is about traveling. So I love traveling and obviously building my company. So that's what I do.
Right. So we're just talking about values. It's so a big challenge, when you grow, and we all know that both of your startups are growing faster and faster. We just remind that Adyen is a startup dedicated to mobile payment, which is growing so fast. And Zalando, of course, everybody knows in Europe for its e-commerce service. Can you just remind what are your values inside your own companies for both of you? What are these values?
There are a few things which I think many startups or fast-growing companies share about customer first and about work as a team. I think we have a few that are very specific to our industry, because in payments there have been many companies that sort of are leeches on the merchant's revenue. And we have said always open pricing, always try to be transparent to the merchant, say how it is. It's so often people say that's very Dutch, that we always say what we think and how it is. We try to bring that through the culture, even though that means that Brazilian people we ask to behave in the same way, or people who live in San Francisco or in France. With 12 offices, in all 12 offices, one culture. That's what we try.
Right. Can you just remind your metrics today? What are the metrics of your company?
In revenues this year, a little over 300 million. Profit about 40 million. 350 people working in the company, and we process about 40 billion currently for our merchants, all euros.
And the same question for you. Could you just remind us what are the metrics?
Of the metrics.
Yeah.
So, we employ roughly about more than 9,000 people at Zalando. We did last year about 2.2 billion revenues, and we're growing like with 25-30% every year. And we are listed in the German stock exchange.
So the values. What are they?
Yeah, so we have lots of different values. I think, maybe like to picture one of the values that's like one of the hardest to maintain in a company that's like growing so fast is actually that we embrace chaos. Yeah? So because chaos really creates opportunities, it attracts the right people, the right internal people to the company. And actually, like, if you're growing a lot and, if you're listed on German stock exchange, maybe it's as well typical German people just love to set up processes. If something goes wrong, there is the next process in place. So this is actually one of the harder values that we try to maintain, still being a listed company, still being a very big company, to create this creative chaos that attracts the entrepreneurial spirit from all over the world.
You are two co-founders of your own companies. Is it important to be very involved in the company, of everyday life? Because it is so important in this step of the growth.
In recruitment, you always get to speak to me or my co-founder or one of the other board members, but a very small group. So we keep recruitment in our own hand. We haven't outsourced that to an HR manager. To find people which really fit our culture, very important. And also something on which we spend an enormous amount of time. I think it's very dangerous if founders start leaving the organization.
Yeah.
What then happens? So yes, you need to be around, you need to be available for that. Because if then it gets more to a standard organization and many people will join Adyen because it's not a standard organization, because we really try to exceed and get more done.
What is your point of view? Do you agree with that?
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
Well, what do you think about the involvement of the co-founders into the?
So in the organization, how our role changes.
Yes.
So-
Do you think you have to be very involved in everyday life of the company?
Yeah, so we had to learn in hard way, yeah, because we just scaled so massively, like from 50 to 500 to 2,500 people. So the way of how we learned it is actually that there's like one point where you actually don't know everybody anymore, like which is like probably in the area of 100. Yeah. So in this point, you have to set up management processes. Yeah, get management lines on board, and then actually your role changed a lot towards that. Actually your biggest impact on the company is that you actually transfer the culture of the company. Yeah, that they transfer the spirit of the company. Yeah, because all the people that you hire were not there in the beginning and have not the initial ideas in mind. So what we do is that we like every second week have actually an all hands company meeting. As I video streamline in all different locations, and this is how we still try to transfer our culture, manifest our culture within the company.
If you look, into the from the back, from the beginning of your two entrepreneur adventures, what is the most difficult level to cross? I used to hear that many entrepreneurs look very different when the company is growing for 0 people to 40 people. It is a big step to cross. What do you think about that? What was the most difficult level to cross for you?
From an organizational point of view, of course, in payments it's getting volume, but that might be less interesting. What I found very difficult is when you have people who do departments and they are responsible for 5 or 7 people. At a certain point, they have to be replaced by people who have a wider span of control, who are better at it. And you want to keep those people within the organization. They have a lot of knowledge. You want to be loyal to them. And that's a process to get to the stage where we're now, that we are much more ready for further growth. And that takes time, and it's an enormous investment in people to motivate them to do something else and to make room for other people, sometimes juniors within their department, who can grow faster within the organization. Yeah. So you need to do that process carefully, and you need to do it timely. You said 300-400 people. We did it at I think 150 people.
And for you, what was the big step, to cross?
So we had 3, I think 3 difficult times. Yeah? So I think the first time is actually when you come across the line that you do not know anybody more in your company. Yeah? So when you think about management process. The second one was probably, I think, when we had 1,000, 2,000 people, because then there's a dedication within the company to try to organize itself. Yeah, so to create overhead and bureaucracies, and so to organize the setting is quite a difficult step. And the third one is probably when you go out of hyper-growth phase into a more sustainable growth path. That you still keep on the everyday challenge entrepreneurial spirit within the company. That people just don't get settled, but they still try to challenge every day as it's like the first day. This is like the third difficult phase, which came at us 2013, 2014.
I suppose you always you all read in the newspapers, in the media, that meaningful action are so important now for the new generation. We need to know what like a goal. That the job is useful. There's plenty of meaningful actions. How do you make it concrete into your own companies?
We have chosen to spend a lot of time with our employees to grow them. Because in payments, look, we are not improving the world. We're making it more frictionless for the merchant, yes, but we're not saving lives. So it feels very artificial. It's like you say, many companies have, hey, we go to work too. What appeals, I see, to a lot of people who work for Adyen is that we heavily invest in them. We make sure that they can grow themselves. So we do exchange programs where you can go to foreign offices and work for a while abroad, which is great to have one company culture, but it's also great to develop employees. We do things like buddy programs that you get to travel with one of the managers, so you get to know each other, but you can also exchange ideas.
Is it successful?
It's hugely successful, yes. We hardly lose people, if at all. And people love to, I mean, it's cool. You live in Amsterdam, and before you know it, you live in Singapore, or the other way around. You live in San Francisco, you spend time in Amsterdam.
Isn't it too expensive for the company to launch such, initiative?
It's so high on the agenda to have a good. I mean, I can stand here and know the company runs very well, and the people who do it, that's the asset in this world. There's no other asset. So yes, expensive, but yes, important. Happily to spend the money on it.
And how do you, implement some meaningful action? Maybe, like I don't know, philanthropy or something, or team buildings actions, something like that.
I don't
What about the meaningful action into your company?
The meaningful actions.
Yeah.
So for the society.
For the company. For your employees.
Yeah.
Do they feel their job very with a very ultimate goal?
So don't really understand like your question. So okay.
How do you make concrete the meaningful action I just mentioned before?
So the meaningful action. So.
Yeah.
I think we Germans and Dutch, we are too. It feels too artificial. Probably also for you. To meaningful action, as in we with Uber make sure there are less cars in the world, so we make the world a better place. You at Zalando get me new shoes every day, so it's good for my back.
Okay, this is what you mean.
Thank you for translation.
So what we so obviously what we are doing is we're selling fashion. Yeah. So selling fashion and make it more easy and accessible. To get towards fashion. And it's actually quite a good product because I can easily tell you, like in 20 years, people won't get naked on the streets. Yeah, so they all need the fashion. They all need what we produce. Yeah, and what we have. And our purpose as an organization is to connect fashion and people in a lot easier way. Yeah. So and think about new ways of engaging people with fashion and make it as well easier for fashion brands to attract the right consumers. Yeah. And in that sense, we reduce waste, we reduce time, we reduce frictions in this entire setting. And this is what motivates us, and this is what motivates all the people that are working within Zalando.
Just to end this panel, the last question is very simple. How do your two companies look like in 2 years? What do you aim exactly?
Whoa.
Yeah,
People
and
always
you
look
have just
stupid when they
30
talk about the
seconds.
future. In 2 years' time, we'll be a lot bigger. Hopefully still privately owned, structured the way we currently are. And in 2 years' time, I hope to be again able to double the company twice. But then we are very, very different. So I have no imagination what we're like then.
Okay, and for you?
So what we are currently doing, we're investing a lot in technology. So we are hiring lots of great engineers and talents around the world. We're setting lots of different tech hubs now across Europe. And hopefully, I think in 2 years, our technology stack is so much bigger, so much greater, so much more powerful than it's today.
Thank you so much, you two guys. Thank you.